So, just a few days ago, Derby County had their fans forum hosted at Pride Park Stadium, and there's a few talking points which I want to discuss, some talking points about the academy and the first team, and some potential things that could happen if we were to get promoted. So, at the fans forum, there was 4 Derby County members of staff present, answering questions from the fans, Owen Bradley, and questions that had been sent in. We had Jake Buxton, the under-21s manager. He stepped up this season from the under-18s. We had Matt Hale, who took over from Darren Wassell as the academy director. And then later on in the evening, there was Paul Warne and Stephen Pearce took to the stage. If you're enjoying this style of video where I sort of discuss talking points from interviews and things like that, let me know down in the comments and I will do similar videos in the future. But while you're at it, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Make sure you like the video and I'll catch you at the end of this one. Having watched the full fans forum, I feel like all 4 were very open and presentive of their questions. They were happy to talk and go into detail in their answers, which I thought was good to hear, good to see. Obviously, a few people will be a bit disappointed with Stephen Pearce, but we know he's not going to talk about his role in administration. He's made that abundantly clear in numerous interviews since since it happened, essentially. So for me, I'm not really too fussed about that. I do have experiences working within Derby. That's something I'm going to make a video on later on down the line. I'm unable to do so at the moment. So yeah, like, it's one of those, I knew we wouldn't talk about it, so it's not something that I'm particularly worried about. But some big news coming out of the academy is Craig Fleming, who came in the summer with Matt Hale from Southampton, has taken an opportunity to go and join Rolf Hasenhüttl in Wolfsburg in the German Bundesliga. Obviously, it's not a job that he's going to turn down. Derby County are a 3rd-tier English Football League side at the moment. Yes, they could be in the Championship in the summer, but the Bundesliga, it's the top league in Germany. It's an opportunity he couldn't really turn down to go back into first-team football with a manager he's worked with previously at Southampton. So that is something which it's to be expected. And for me, it's a good thing to show that Derby County have staff that people think are capable of working at that level. Obviously, you can let me know your thoughts on that down in the comments. Next up, there was some questions asked about academy players getting first-team opportunities. Both Buxton and Hale were sort of saying it's not fair to say that they didn't get their chances. They've had plenty of opportunities training with the first team, which I've seen firsthand, like the amount of academy players that go and train with the first team. And obviously situations change as the league season progresses, but it's something which we've done for a while at Derby County. Even since like before administration, we'd always have academy players in and around the squad. They'd get opportunities in pre-season and things like that, and it's up to them to take the opportunities. But for me, we've had games where it's not necessarily been a whitewash, but if you go to Northampton Town, I think we beat them 4-0. We had a couple of academy... We go back to Northampton Town. We had a couple of academy lads on the bench. We were winning 4-0, but instead of bringing the academy lads on, we bring on some older, more experienced heads. And it's things like that which I'm just not 100% sure about. Like, it's decisions like that where I'm like, is the academy being given the opportunity it deserves? Now, obviously, I don't know what the manager is seeing in training. I'm obviously not there. But for me, it's something which... If I was the manager in one of those games where it's 3-4-0, I'd chuck a Dejon Brown in for 20-25 minutes. I'd chuck a Darren Robinson into midfield or in at centre-half. Like, it's things like that. And then, obviously, you've got some of the other players. You've got Cruz Allen, Niall McAndrew, Jadon Davidson, who I believe is injured at the moment. But there's a whole host of players, Dan Cox, who... are in and around the first team squad, training and things like that. So it will be good to see them actually get some minutes. I'm not saying they don't get the opportunity to earn it, but I just think at times you've got to chuck players in. We did it during administration, and you look at the likes of Liam Thompson, Flew, Lee Buchanan, he was chucked in, Max Bird was chucked in, obviously not administration, but like these players. Jayden Bogle was chucked in under Frank Lampard when Wisdom got injured, and he was very, very impressive for that season and ended up getting sold. Now, they do talk about Dejon Brown and his loan spell at Gateshead. He's having a very impressive time, and I personally think it was the absolutely right move to send him out on loan. Now, I do think that it happened at a time when we really needed another striker at the club for the first team, but I get the impression by what they were saying that he wasn't going to get the opportunity, even with injuries, to start games. So I think it was the absolute right decision to make to send him out on loan. Make sure he gets some minutes and like he actually gets to play men's first team football in front of crowds, and he understands what's within the men's game tactically and technically. Learning how to break into a squad and things like that. Now, obviously, there's still a range of games left this season. Be interesting to see how he closes out the season. I'll review it at the end of the season and do a video about it for you to sort of assess how his loan spell went. Obviously, Stephen Pearce and Paul Warne joined the stage about an hour into it. Stephen Pearce said that the club is backing of this independent regulator, and the club is fully supportive. He's fully supportive. He believes it would stop like what happened with Derby County with Mel Morris. Stephen Pearce also went on to discuss budgets for if the club was promoted, and he was there. His quote was, "We're not there to make up the numbers. We want to compete, and we'll make sure there's a competitive wage bill and squad to do so." Now, obviously, we'll wait and see what happens with that because we need to get promoted first. But we are going to need a big-ish rebuild in the summer, in my opinion, because a lot of these players, as much as I think could play at the next level, I don't think it's going to keep us safe at the next level. Obviously, as I previously mentioned, Pearce was asked a question about his role during administration, and he didn't really get into it. He gave a similar answer to the one he gave on the BBC Radio Derby interview just a few months ago. So if you want to hear what he had to say, the Fans Forum is available over on the Derby County YouTube channel. So if you want to go and watch it in full, I think it's about an hour and 45 minutes long. So you can go and watch that if that's what you want to do. Paul Warne was asked a question about contract renewals for the squad, and he said that will be no contract renewals until the end of the season. Now, that doesn't mean players won't be getting one. It just means that they're not offering contracts out at this sort of really busy, important time of the season. You don't want players to be distracted by new contracts or potentially not getting new deals and then not wanting to benefit the club in that sense. So it'll be very interesting to see who does get a new contract, who doesn't. There's been a lot of rumours about Joe Wildsmith recently, but I do think that if we go up, I think it's going to be 50-50 coin toss whether he gets one, because obviously we know that when Wildsmith had a few poor games, let's say, I think Wildsmith said it himself, he had a bit of a crazy period. Vickers came straight in and did okay. Now, I was not completely sold on Vickers. I'm still not. But, like, I'll just trust what the coaching staff has to do. But, yeah, so that's sort of the main takeaways from it. Obviously, a lot more was discussed. It was, like, nearly a 2-hour interview, essentially. So, if you want to go and check that out, go and check out the Derby County YouTube channel. Got some big news from the press conference from yesterday as well. Connor Washington is set to be back in the squad at the weekend, and James Collins is set to be back involved with the squad before the Blackpool game. So that is going to be massively important. There's still no word on Dwight Gale's injury. They're waiting to receive the scans back, but they think it's going to be a few weeks. But they're not going to rule anything out. He might not make it back this season. So obviously, disappointing to lose Gale. I think the Fans Forum was brilliant. Answered some really intriguing questions, in my opinion. So it's going to be very interesting to see when they do the next one. I think they've done 2 this season, so it'll be good to see how that's held. I don't think they really advertised this one much, though, so because I had no idea it was happening until, like, Dom Dietrich of BBC Radio Derby started talking about it. So, like, it's one of those things that it's just one of those. But yeah, so let me know your thoughts on the fans forum down in the comments. Let me know what you think heading into this weekend's game. And yeah, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you like and share this video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Make sure to go and find me on TikTok, pictured here, and Twitter, pictured here. These are the places where I'll keep you all up to date with all my upcoming videos and my thoughts and feelings around the Formula 1 and football weekend.